with these are examples as to why American empire is failing. And it really is our education system. It is. That's the root of it. When we show things like this is a testament to how poor our education system is in this country. And that is like she should be the poster child at this point for poor education.
Kristi Noem will prove to you once and for all how a basic education can be lost on even somebody who achieves high political office, such as governor and director of Homeland Security. Amazingly.
I'm floored by this, and I shouldn't be.
Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country.
Habeas corpus is the Fourth Amendment. It is for the protection against illegal search and seizure. This is as basic as the right to free speech, the right to bear arms. Yes, Amendment 3 has obviously,
let me explain. Don't mock Amendment 3.
I'm not mocking Amendment 3. I'm just saying that it generally, we're not quartering people these days.
No, but but here's what's so funny is, so when I was in law school, there was, I forget who it was, but he was like, he would always say it like totally deadpan and people would think it through, but he'd be like, yeah, I'm going to specialize in Third Amendment law. Just to be ridiculous. But I want to explain what habeas corpus is, because I don't think people necessarily really know. Okay, so I think we need to know. First of all, habeas corpus is Latin for present the body. Present the body, show the body. Corpus is body. Habeas is show, right? Like, or present, or whatever it is in Latin, right? And what they're talking of is the body of evidence. So habeas corpus is all of our rights that if we are detained or our liberty is potentially being challenged, like we are being arrested, the state has an obligation to present the body. They have to show you what it is, and it has to be public as to why you are having your liberty, or you're being detained, or why your liberty is being threatened. So it is the obligation of the state to present the body, which is evidence. And that's what habeas corpus is. And so what we have as our Fourth Amendment is really protection against unreasonable search and seizure. But it's the gist of it is your Miranda warnings, all of those things are included in the nation state's obligation to present their case, which is basically going through due process. Okay.
Django, I am sorry to say, but you failed basic civics as well.
No, people think that
the right to a fair and speedy trial is Amendment 8, if I remember correctly.
No, Amendment 8 is Amendment 8 is cruel and unusual punishment. But hold on, I should
right
know.
to a jury by your peers is 9.
No, that would be that's 6. 7 is attorney. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, 6 is speedy trial by a jury of the state, by a jury of peers. 7 is right to trial by jury as opposed to by court. And 8 is cruel and unusual punishment. I knew 8 was cruel and unusual punishment because I did a paper on that one. But anyway, let this continue. This is
their right.
No, let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President Lincoln used it.
Excuse me.
You have to be a certain level of ignorant,
yeah,
stupid, and arrogant. I don't like Senator Hassan as much as anybody, but you're going to try to double down on a U.S. senator who clearly knows this is
well, Lincoln did it.
Like that. Well, first, that's a defense mechanism, but the less said, the better. Like, you're not going to talk your way around the fact that you don't know what the fuck the Constitution says.
Marco, yes. Habeas corpus, which is what we refer to as due process. But yeah, it really is that. All amendments in the Bill of Rights, in the first 10 amendments, is for all people on our soil. all people. You do not have to be a citizen to have the rights of the First, Fourth, Fifth, all the amendments. You have those rights. The only right you don't have in terms of our amendments is right number 14th Amendment, which is the right to vote. You don't get that. Or 15. 14 is equal protection. 15 was the right to vote. All men. But like, you don't get that. But the first 10, everyone gets them.
Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason. Habeas corpus is the foundational right that separates free societies like America from police states like North Korea. As a senator from the live free or die state, this matters a lot to me and my constituents and to all Americans. So Secretary Noem, do you support the core protection that habeas corpus provides, that the government must provide a public reason in order to detain and imprison someone?
Yeah, I support habeas corpus. I also recognize that the President of the United States has the authority under the Constitution to decide if it should be suspended or not.
It has
No, he doesn't.
It has to be approved by, let it finish playing because the senator explains it.
Let us be clear, though,
it has never been done. It has never been done without approval of Congress. Even Abraham Lincoln got retroactive approval from Congress.
Word. But here's the truth. Kristi Noem, who is the director of our Department of Homeland Security, all right? This isn't just a regular person on the street. This isn't even a representative. This is the director of Homeland Security. Does not know what due process is. Also, I did a little digging into her. What is her educational background? And again, I am loath to say poor, very poor. She didn't graduate from school until however went back to school and ended up with like an honorary situation. That aside, and I don't care how elitist it sounds, and I've said it before, not all jobs are meant for all people. Not everybody is qualified to do every job. And your education matters in some jobs. Jen. I don't care if it sounds elitist. When it comes to being a member of Congress, which is the people's house, I think it should be all people from all walks of life, all backgrounds representing constituents. And I don't care what anybody's education level is. I really don't. However, I do think that Kristi Noem right here is the poster child for that. We need to maybe have some sort of basic civics test that people need to pass in order to be in a representative capacity. And I mean basic civics, because that's off the wall. However, the fact that someone is in her position and doesn't know basic stuff like that, again, testament to our poor education system in this country. And she should be embarrassed. She probably isn't. She doesn't seem to give a shit. She was just schooled as to what habeas corpus was and then sat there with a straight face and said, I know what it is. No, you didn't know what it was. It's really embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
And it is a reflection of how bad things are in this country. I can't say for certain where we lost our way, but it is very much like the education system in that they don't want thinking federally elected representatives. They want obedient slaves, essentially. One nation under corporate power, hence fascism. That's ostensibly where we are because we really don't have a say. And the monopolization of the free market has allowed for the worst of the worst people to be in positions of power that basically look at, for example, Kristi Noem would be a very good example of somebody who is a true Trump acolyte.
She's a very loyal person, and I have no problem with that. And if I were him, I would only surround myself with the loyalist people too. I don't have a problem with that. He should do that. Anybody who surrounds himself with people that aren't loyal, that's a moron.
Especially from where we stand and being completely objective about this, we only know of 2 specific instances in which they tried to take Trump out this past year. If you're in a situation where all you did was slightly turn your head in the wrong direction to avoid what I still want people to understand this. And I'm saying this as somebody who for those of you who have been following this channel, know that I am an extremely agnostic politico. I don't give a fuck about your ideology. I only care about what's right and wrong. And what was wrong was the fact that the will of the people wanted Donald Trump because this country is irrevocably broken. It just is. And so what did the powers that be decide that they were going to do? They were going to kill him. And they came within a fraction of an inch of killing him. And who the hell knows what this country would have descended into if he had been killed that day. I was door knocking for Jen in Davie. I remember this. I remember exactly where I was. I saw it come across the wire. I took one look at it and I said, oh, they tried to kill him. Oh, that's an assassination attempt. Hands down. I only needed a few seconds to determine whether this was a setup or whether it was legitimate. And then there was all the things that transpired after the fact. If he had been killed that day, let me assure you, this country would have broken itself in half in a way that you can't even possibly fucking fathom. So be thankful he wasn't killed. At some point, we have to recognize that this system is broken and that we are being led into idiocracy because corporate oligarchy has turned our country into fascism. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Look at David Hunter vowed to uphold the Third Amendment. Now you're getting it. Yeah.
Fair enough.
So, fair. And I just wanted to finish the thought I was having about that, because while I don't think that people in the legislature necessarily need to have higher education, I do want the people in my executive branch and my judicial branch to be educated. I do. I want people that are running the Department of Homeland Security to have a pretty solid political education, foreign affairs education. Yes, I do. I want that. And I don't care that it's not everybody can have that. You're right. Not everybody can do all jobs. Not everybody gets to do everything. That's life. But it really bothers me that he can't find people that are loyal and not morons. And I don't understand, like, the idea of having a director of Homeland Security that doesn't know things like that is really, it's absurd. She is worse than Hegseth, and he is so out of his league that, I mean, I don't even know how he's still there.